Today we are going to read "Thank You, Ma'am" again. Our purpose for this read is to help us answer questions about the text. Turn in your student text to page 49. I want you to read the questions aloud with me. Number 1. Why does Roger make contact with Mrs. Jones? Number 2. Why does Mrs. Jones feed Roger and have him clean himself up? Number 3. How does Mrs. Jones feel about stealing? Use the following quote to inform your answer. Shoes come by devilish like that will burn your feet. Number 4. How did Roger's character change over time? Provide evidence for your answer. Now turn to page 37 in your student book. I'm going to have you reread the story "Thank You, Ma'am" by Langston Hughes silently. It is critical to understand how to answer different types of questions. Today, we will look at 2 question words. We will become familiar with these question words and learn how to answer these types of questions. Those 2 question words are how and why. Repeat after me. How? Why? Now turn to page 49 in your student book. Now I want you to look at the chart at the top of page 49. Notice if the question asks why, you're going to include in your answer a reason or explanation. If the question asks how, you're going to include the way something is done. So if the question asks why, your answer must include what? If the question asks how, your answer must include what? Let's practice answering questions. Listen as I model the first one for you. Number 1, why does Roger make contact with Mrs. Jones? The question word is why, so we know the answer must include a reason or an explanation. The first contact Roger makes with Mrs. Jones is an attempt to steal her purse, so we need to know why he tried to steal her purse. I remember that she thought he was hungry, but he admits that he just wanted a pair of blue suede shoes. So the answer to the question would be, Roger makes contact with Mrs. Jones so he can steal enough money to buy a pair of blue suede shoes. While I write my answer on the board, look at the text and point to the evidence. Now I want you to write your answer on page 49 and tell where you found the evidence in the text. Now let's look at number 2. Why does Mrs. Jones feed Roger and have him clean himself up? The next question word is also why. What does the answer need to include? Because the story is not written from the point of view of Mrs. Jones, it doesn't say explicitly why she fed Roger and had him clean himself up. But we can look at the dialogue to infer why she feeds him. Why don't you look and see if you can find the answer to why she fed him and had him clean himself up? Think about the dialogue and determine what Mrs. Jones thinks. What do you think the answer is? Look at the sentence starter on the board. I'm going to have you write the sentence starter and your complete answer on page 49. Mrs. Jones feeds Roger and has him clean himself up because... Now I want you to do the same thing for items 3 and 4. Be sure to look for the text evidence and to restate the question to make a complete sentence as your answer.